shooting Talha and saying he's the one who killed Uthman. My
Yeah,
opponent
but I
quoted
told
one
you I
hadith that
accepted.
says it was the Egyptians.
So who gave you the authority to decide what's a Shi'i bid'ah or not? You guys are just picking and choosing.
Yeah, then you have.
Inshallah, I'll read Minhaj al-Sunnah as soon as you read Minhaj al-Karama by Al-Alam al-Hilli.
قد أفلح المؤمنون.
We'll look inshallah inside the debate Q&A.
Yeah, there we go.
All I have is just 2 questions, and then inshallah I'll get to the questions of the brothers and sisters inside the debate Q&A. May Allah bless you all and reward you. My first question being, what is the point of quoting Ibn Salah when Ibn Salah himself says that if a scholar says that the hadith is sahih and he doesn't mention a illah, that it is sahih and accepted? If he says the isnad is sahih, as he says, إذا اقتصر على قوله أنه صحيح الإسناد ولم يذكر فيه علة ولم يقدح فيه فالظاهر منه الحكم له بأنه صحيح في نفسه. So the hadith is sahih itself. If he says the chain is sahih and he doesn't mention a illah, and we can see that completely applies to the hadith that Sayf brought, because the ones that he brought, the scholars like Ibn Hajar and multiple others, they graded it sahih, but they didn't mention a illah for it for you to reject it or to call it shadh. Seems that you flipped the aqidah of Ibn Salah upside down. Number 2 is that why would you say that it contradicts because Talha? Let me finish. Let me finish. Just let me finish these 2 questions. Barakallah fiqh. And it's my second question is, why would you say that it contradicts because Talha is not one of the Masris? In this case, then I could say, for example, Talha and Zubair were not at the Battle of Jamal, because the Battle of Jamal was between the Kufans and the Basrans. Zubair and Aisha and Talha, they're not Basrans, they're from Arabia. Okay, and I could say the same thing about the Kufans. The Kufans, there were people like Malik al-Ashtar and Ammar ibn Yasir and Imam Ali alayhi salam. They're all from Arabia. But this says, no, the army of the Kufans and the Basrans met. So by this logic, it's completely possible for Talha to be there with the Jama'ah of the Masriyin, just like how Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr was. And I know he's not a Masri.
Yeah, I'll answer the first question, and then you're gonna have to remind me the second one, because that's what I was afraid
Inshallah.
of. Okay, so as far as the second one, fine, no problem. But you're gonna have to show me, because in the riwayah, right, you'd expect it to say, okay, most of them were Masriyin, or that the Masriyin were there and Talha. Yani you think Talha killing Uthman, you'd expect it to be mentioned there. Just like if we find out tomorrow that, let's just say a group of bandits break into Sayf's house and they, rob him, and one of them's Uzayr, and you mention, okay, just a group of guys came, and you don't mention Uzayr, you'd expect Uzayr to be mentioned there. And that's what I'm saying. If this is the Talha, we all know how big of a figure he is, whether you like him or not. You'd expect his name to be mentioned there, not just hide him amongst the Masriyin and say, okay, it's a am statement. Awalan. What's the second question?
My second question, it's all right. So it was
the
about
first
Ibn
question.
Salah.
Answer the second question first. Yeah.
Exactly. The first question you didn't answer, and the second one.
Yeah, because I tried to stop you. You mentioned 2 questions at once. I missed the first one.
Ahsan. Okay, the first one was, so Ibn Salah's own standard. It says that if a scholar quotes a hadith, and he says that the hadith is sahih al-isnad, and he doesn't mention a illah, then the hukum that the hadith is sahih fi nafsihi. طيب. Sayf brought multiple ahadith where Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani and multiple others, they say it's sahih, but they didn't mention a illah. So according to the standard of Ibn Salah, that very scholar that you brung, the hadith is sahih.
Okay, so as far as these multiple ahadith, now the only one that he could cling on to was the one where he said, oh, Sayf, Uzayr, you're coping with the Marwan ibn al-Hakam bias one. And as far as this one, fine, ma fi mushkila. You're going to have to explain a Suyuti. There's no escaping this. If we take Ibn Salah out, or Ibn Salah out, right, that's only one in many, many, many other scholars. This is asl min usul al-hadith. Everybody knows this. If you take Ibn Salah out, but more mushkila, you're in the same spot. So
rather,
let's say we take out Nasr. Let's say we take him out. Now you're in the same spot where you started.
Rather not. See, because this is something that's very, very clear, and that this standard that Ibn Salah that you quoted, the first one, and for some reason you didn't quote the when he wraps up the standard, which is what Brother Sayf quoted. There were people that went against this i'tiqad that, I can reject the Sahih al-Isnad because he didn't say that the hadith is Sahih. We're to the point where Ibn Hajar, he wrote a whole book called An-Naktu ala ibn Salah where he refutes his claims.
Yeah, but Nasir, you and I both know what an appeal to authority is. You're just appealing to the authority of Ibn Hajar, right? How do you expect dead Ibn Salih, rahmatullah alayhi, in his grave to respond back to that? He can't. He's passed away and he's gone now, and he wrote a book. Ibn Hajar tried to correct him, and that's that. Ibn Salah can't respond back. He's gone. He's in the barzakh. That's the first thing. And secondly, you're appealing to his authority, man. This is a fallacy. Come on, Sayf. Come on, Nasir.
But you just appeal to authority with. Okay, never mind. It's your quick.
No, but I told you this is asl min usul al-ahadith. I never said because Ibn As-Suyuti
Yeah,
said it, then it
it
must
doesn't
be.
apply
People
here. It
reject.
doesn't.
Ibn Hajar says that this is an asl. صاحب التذكرة والتبصرة, he doesn't say that this is an asl.
Yeah, what? That is sahih isnad, but then the text can be shad. He rejects this.
Yeah, so
In
prove
order
it
for the text to be shad, it has to be. It
It
has to contradict.
Yeah, but I
Right.
showed you that it contradicts the Masriyin and the narration of the Masriyin, and then you brought that
Ahsan.
counter.
Okay, good. So hold up.
Wait,
So let me
one
give you an
second.
example.
Wait, 1 second, real quick. I just want to highlight something. So for the sources that I posted, so the one with Ja'far ibn Sulaiman, that's one. The one from that's from Tarikh al-Madinah. There's one from al-Mustadrak ala al-Sahihain from al-Hasan al-Basri. There's one from what's his name? All the ones listed in Siyar A'lam al-Nubala and all the ones listed by al-Isaba. So I don't know. I don't even remember how many different versions I quoted of Marwan shooting Talha and saying he's the one who killed Uthman. My opponent quoted one hadith that says it was the Egyptians. So which one is shad here?
No, but
Ikhwani,
I'm telling you, just because one scholar quotes the same report multiple times doesn't mean it's a primary source. It's a secondary source. Ittaqillah. He's just quoting the same report. Okay? And you're saying, oh, it's recorded in CR. It doesn't make a difference if it's recorded in CR or not because it's a secondary source. That's the first.
1 second.
Just to wrap up.
Yeah, let me just say this one thing quickly, please. Secondly, I already told you, Sayf, we went through Ja'far, the guy, I don't want to mix up his name, and we showed you that fi tashayyu', and I've brought the ijma' of the scholars, and then you said that's a cope. Of course you said that's a cope.
Yeah, it's a cope because I'll tell you why it's a cope real quick. It's a cope because if I brought you other hadiths that say the same thing without him in the chain, it's clearly nothing wrong with the chain. You're just coping for the content.
No, not necessarily. Because
just to wrap up my point, to say like, for example, they say that a group of people killed Uthman and then they don't name them. Yes, there will be a group of people and that they don't.
Masriyin.
For example, Masriyin, afwan, Masriyin. Yes, and so for example, there was a group of people that tried to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at Aqabah. That's in Sahih Muslim. I wonder why their names weren't mentioned. Okay, so what about those group of quote-unquote Masriyin that tried to kill Uthman? Hey guys, is Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr a Masri? Is Abdurrahman ibn Udays al-Balawi a Masri? These two were at the killing of Uthman and they killed him. So it's clear that there were other than the Masriyin that were there. Yes, the bulk of them were Masriyin, but there were Sahaba and there were Tabi'in that were in there that were from Arabia. And one of them was who? According to the hadith, one of them was Talha. Now that's just the wrap up of my point. Now we need to go to the other questions. Barakallah fikum, because they're
also,
all.
One second. This is strange because the hadith he quoted. I just want to point this out. The hadith he quoted. I'll post it in the bottom of debate resources because I lost it for a second. The hadith here also has a Shia narrator in it, and that's al-A'mash.
Okay, but that doesn't.
دخلت مع المصريين على عثمان فلما ضربوه خرجت أشد قد ملأت. Yeah, this doesn't even say that this is when they killed him.
Exactly. So hold on 1 second. Let's pause right there. If Al-A'mash being in here, and I need to see the lead that he's a Shi'i, أولا. But anyways, let's say
Al-A'mash,
and hold on,
Sulaiman bin Mahran.
I'm giving it to you. He's a Shi'i, but he's not confirming his bid'ah. He's not.
Who gave you the authority? All right, then the question comes: who gave you the authority to decide what's a Shi'i bid'ah or not? You guys are just picking and choosing.
Yeah. Then you have to prove
so
that.
Hold on. So all right, good. I want a scholar saying that it's a bid'ah. It's a bid'ah of the Shia to say that Talha killed Uthman. Where did a single scholar say this?
Stop being ridiculous. What we're talking about, this is one of the sifat of the Shia, right? Rejection of adalati.
See, now you're ignoring this. So there are sifat of the Shia that even Ahl Sunnah agreed with.
Yeah, also, hang on. This narration is literally about Imam Ali. Imam Ali is in the Senate. Yeah. So 1 second, you accept the Shia narrations when you feel like it, and then you reject them when you feel like it?
No, because he's not confirming his bid'ah for the millionth time. What are you talking about?
So I want an authority. I want to see a whole book saying what the Shi'i bid'ah is, so I know when to reject it. I don't want Uzayr, and I don't want your logic.
Mumtaz. Read Manhaj al-Sunnah. Bismillah.
I don't want to read Manhaj Sunnah Bani Umayyah that your scholars admit that used to insult Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and he did taqleel of his sha'n with that book.
But hang on, there's more.
So now you're throwing Manhaj Sunnah under the bus. Here's a book of the bid'ah of the Shia.
Yes, all right, good. Inshallah, I'll read Manhaj Sunnah as soon as you read Manhaj al-Karama by al-Alam al-Hilli. Let me get to the questions of the brothers and sisters.
Finish the Q&As, yeah.
That's reflecting.
I'm going to start muting. 1 second. Yeah, this is a Q&A and not a discussion, so please don't go back and forth. Just give your point of view.
Jazakallah khair, brother Abu Ja'far. May Allah bless you. All right, here, let me start with the questions. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'll try to go. Listen, I'm choosing the questions that won't make us do tasalsul and go on to many other topics. So
we weren't meant to have a conclusion. We were meant to have a conclusion. We just forgot.
Sure, you can do your conclusion. How long is it?
Should we just keep it short? 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Go for it.
Keep it short. Yes.
Yeah. You start, inshallah, because you started the debate.
If I started, you should be the one ending.
Exactly. So I'm telling you, you start and I finish off the debate because you started.
Okay, sure. I'll do my conclusion. No problem. We'll let you cope even more. So again, I'm just going to restate what I said in my conclusion. Number one, I made the claim that her leaving her house, that was direct, going against the order of Allah and His Messenger. All my opponent did was bring a fatwa that says wives can't leave without their husband's permission. That doesn't prove anything because that's a ruling for like just wives in general, not the wives of the Prophet. Number two, killing innocent people. I brought clear proof that that they killed innocent people when they attacked Uthman ibn Hunayf, and he tried to cope that it needs to be sahih. I played him his own voice saying that it's well known that we don't need sahih for such a thing. Number three, I made the claim that she was a baghiya, and this makes her a fasiqa. Again, he couldn't refute me because I brought a clear source, al-Mannawi, in Faith al-Qadir, where he says that by ijma' of the Sunni scholars, by ijma' of Ahl al-Hadith and Ahl al-Ra'i, that the people of Jamal and Siffin were bughat zalimeen to Ali ibn Abi Talib. And then I brought another source from Ash-Shawkani where he says baghi is fisq ijma'an. The final thing that I brought was that Aisha says she died on innovation. Because I brought a clear hadith where Aisha says, أحدثت بعد رسول الله حدثا. Nowhere in that report does it say she was repenting. And we know from the other Sahih report, من أحدث حدثا فعليه لعنة الله والناس والملائكة أجمعين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. يلا تفضل brother Uzayr.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وأصحابه أجمعين. So, my dear brothers and sisters, let's not forget the original title of the debate, because my opponent would stop at nothing but to deflect away from the burden of proof he originally held and he agreed to in the beginning. And we can play the recording forever, and he can't deny this. That he had to prove from our books that Aisha is a munafiqa, a kafira, batinan finnar. And he failed to do that miserably. And we've demonstrated his poor knowledge in history, very poor knowledge in history, cluelessness in hadith sciences. And I'm not saying this to insult my interlocutor, but this is just what the evidence has shown. He's demonstrated what? A tendency to do tadlis and cut reports. And then when he made us read out made me read out one full page, it ended up refuting Imam and destroying his whole manhaj. Okay, that's one thing. Then the next point, he goes on to mention, this hadith of Aisha, inni ahdathu ba'da Rasulullah hadathan. I challenged him for one scholar who's applied this to Aisha being finnar, failed miserably. He knows he can't do it. I know he can't do it. That's why he didn't do it. That's the next point, okay? The point after that, as far as this hadith sciences of coping and contradictions in your books, we destroyed them with the introduction of Tahdhib al-Ahkam. And interestingly, if you go on to like the next page, I think it actually mentions a specific ex-Shi'i who's left. It doesn't specify where, if he's come to Mukhalifin or whatever, because of the contradictions in his books, and that shut him up on the contradictions. We have jam'. So jam' is okay for them. It's not okay for us. But all in all, to conclude, deception, ignorance in history, ignorance in hadith science, tendencies to cut reports, everything under the sun. فجزاكم الله khairan, and I really hope the brothers enjoyed watching this debate. And I learned a lot today about Sayf, and have reinforced my belief that this guy has no idea what he's talking about. فجزاكم الله khairan.
That is your 2 minutes. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أعداءهم ومنكر فضائلهم إلى قيام يوم الدين.